Suspicious circumstance. A police officer received a call to help another officer who he had known for many years. The call was designated as suspicious circumstance. The call was from a son who said that when he went to check on his mum at her old farmhouse, he had heard noises from downstairs in the basement. It took the officer about 15 minutes to get out to this old farmhouse outside of town. It was yellow stucco and very old. He could see the old knob and tubing wiring on the outside of the house. There is an upset old woman on the porch, the mum, and then a younger adult male standing next to her, the son, and then his fellow police officer standing next to them. He goes up to them and gets all the information. When the son got to his mum's farmhouse to check on his mum while he was talking to his mum on the main floor, he heard a noise in the basement like something being dropped. He dismissed it as perhaps an animal. However, then there were more noises of things moving around, and then he also started hearing voices. The son said he thinks maybe someone is living down there, taking advantage of his mum. He says the basement is unlivable as it has a dirt floor and no electricity. The mom is upset. She said she didn't want the son to go down in the basement, and now the mom didn't want the police officers to go down in the basement either. So he asks her why she doesn't want them to go down there. She says, because the others are down there. And he asks her what she means by that. She says, the others were here long before me, and they will be here long after me. He says he understands, but that they need to go check the basement. The mum says nicely, you are both good boys, don't go down there. Meanwhile, the officer sees that the fellow officer has a very scared look on his face. This fellow police officer has helped the police officer who is calling into the show many, many times. The intuition from him has saved both of them in many situations. So, this guy trusts him a lot. He pulls him to the side and says, what's going on here? The fellow police officer says, there is a very dark fog around this house. The two police officers decide to go clear the basement with their weapons drawn. They let dispatch know they are going to clear the basement, and then they make their way into the old house. They go through the front door and enter an entryway. There is a kitchen to the left. There are two double doors to a living room on the right. They go through the kitchen and then through a small hallway towards the garage, where there are steps down to the basement. They open the basement door and start going down the steps. The steps are very steep and narrow like steps on a boat. There is no electricity downstairs. He only has the light on his gun. He said every single inch of his exposed skin felt like it was under assault from a thickness in the air. They get downstairs, and to the left are a bunch of old boilers. First a wood fire one, then an oil fire one, and then an updated furnace. To the left are steep stairs that go back outside through a bulkhead entrance, like the Wizard of Oz, those basement doors that are flat in the ground. And in between the boilers and that bulkhead stair is a door to a back room inside the basement, and they focus on opening up that door. The fellow officer opens the door and he goes inside. The room is filled with old wooden items and some boxes. There is nothing for anyone to hide behind. In the center of the room near the back is an old rocking horse. The white paint has been chipping, and the hair on the horse has faded severely. They both stand there looking at the rocking horse. He says he was drawn to the rocking horse in a very weird way. Then he hears his radio as dispatch is calling. Dispatch says security check, as in, are you guys okay? He answers back that they are okay, and dispatch says, what is taking you so long? He thinks this is very odd, since usually dispatch does not interrupt you when you are clearing a house like that, as they know you are highly focused. He looks over to his fellow officer and he is staring at that rocking horse. His eyes are glossed over in a daze. He shakes his fellow officer, and his fellow officer snaps out of it. They make their way back upstairs. They both talk in the kitchen that they are going to have to talk about this with each other after they leave the house to get their bearings back. They go back out on the porch. The old woman has a smirk on her face. She says, didn't feel good, did it? You should have listened, shouldn't you? He gets back in his vehicle and he asks dispatch why they interrupted him. Dispatch says he was gone too long. He says he wasn't gone long. Dispatch says he was gone for 10 minutes. He says he was not gone for 10 minutes. He says he was gone for about 2 minutes before they interrupted him. There are more calls that come in and they move on to those. However, later, back at the police station, they review the police body camera. Sure enough, Once they get down into that room with the rocking horse, both he and the fellow officer freeze for 7 minutes, looking at that rocking horse. They do not move. They do not speak. You can hear them both breathing for 7 minutes on the video. The only reason they snap out of it is because dispatch interrupts them on the radio. They both stood looking at that rocking horse for 7 minutes without realizing it.